Nothing has changed since the crisis erupted at the border. No policies have changed. No policy announcements have come from the White House. No bills have been passed. But the war of words over the crisis separating families is getting uglier and uglier. The latest, Trump's former campaign manager, Lewandowski, reacting to a report of a 10-year-old child with Down syndrome being separated from her family.
I read today about a 10-year-old girl with Down syndrome who was taken from her mother and put in a cage. I read about did you say want to a 10-year-old with Down syndrome being taken from her mother?
What I said is you can pick anything you want up, but the bottom line is very clear.
How dare you?
When you cross the border illegally.
That was yesterday. Here's Lewandowski today.
I don't know the young girl that Zach referenced. I was mocking Zach, a liberal Democrat National Committee activist who is doing nothing but politicizing the issue of making an example of one particular child.
Joining me right now, Joe Trippi, CNN political commentator, Democratic strategist, and Jason Miller, CNN political commentator and former senior communications advisor to the Trump campaign. Thanks so much for coming in. Jason, no matter how you feel about the policy, the crisis playing out at the border, why are folks talking about this horribly sad crisis in this way, or saying the facilities are like summer camp for kids? Do you think this helps?
Well, I think you make a very good point. I think that as conservatives, as supporters of the president, I think that we have a higher bar that we have to meet as far as making sure that we're articulating his policies in a way that put the facts forward and don't seem as though we're insensitive. I think Corey's comments yesterday clearly went way into the insensitive territory. And I think what that does is that muddles the message. So instead of today being a debate over the need to build the wall, go and pass on these additional proposals, now we're talking about insensitivity and does the administration care or not? And that's not a winning position for us.
Yeah. Joe, President Trump says that Congress should fix it. Republicans and Democrats say Trump could fix it faster. But I'm also seeing reports, like in the New York Times, reporting that Chuck Schumer is kind of shooting down the chance to work with Republicans to try to craft a fix in the Senate in the absence of Trump doing anything. Morally and politically, can Democrats stand here, point the finger at Corey Lewandowski for being insensitive and say, no, we're not going to work with Republicans. We're going to stand here and wait for Trump to do something?
Well, I think the president keeps moving the bar. Democrats have come with several proposals. They either were voted down or that the president pulled the rug out at the last minute. So we'll see where that goes. But I think one of the things that's happening here is the policy itself is bad. And it's hurting Republicans. But where it's hurting them even more, I think, is when Corey Lewandowski uses this kind of language, or the president says that these people are infesting our nation. I mean, this is coming from the top, and the problem is the language itself. I mean, crossing that line, the crass, sort of punitive language the policy itself hurts him with Republican women and Republican as a whole, and a lot of other people that would normally support the policy. But could support the policy, but then they hear this language and they start to move away. They start to say the policy maybe, but not this divisiveness, not this bitterness. That's not who we are, and that's what's, I think, adding to the policy division that the president's created here. It's the language as well.
You know, Jason, the comment that Joe's talking about here is a tweet from the president when he says that Democrats are the problem. They don't care about crime. They want illegal immigrants, no matter how bad they may be, to pour into and infest our country. And he continues, Madeleine Albright, the former Secretary of State, says that the president, in doing so, she tweeted that he's fostering hate with the language that he's using. Is the president fostering hate here?
I would disagree on that. I think the president takes this issue of MS-13, of the gang problem, of the human trafficking, of the drug trafficking. I think he takes this very personally, that he looks and he's met with so many of these angel moms and families, Kate Steinle's family, people have been impacted by these lax border policies, or whether it be sanctuary cities or these other things. And to Joe's point a moment ago, I completely agree with him that for too many, I think the language has gone in the wrong direction here, because really what's at core are these policies policies. And the fact is, we can no longer have this open border policy. I think a zero tolerance policy at the border is the right way to be. I don't think the DHS was ready to implement this on schedule as they should have. I think that there are some quick fixes that we can do as far as closing the loopholes regarding catch and release. I think the Ted Cruz proposal, I think, is a good one. I disagree with the president on that point.
Oh, Jason,
and also,
can I ask you
the
about
House,
that real quick?
Yeah.
Can I ask you about Ted Cruz with his proposal? Because I've heard some Democrats even say that they'd be open to what Ted Cruz is putting forth, and it kind of fixes would say you can't separate families, but also in doing so would double the number of federal immigration judges to speed up processing. Trump says he wants Congress to fix it, but he just threw Ted Cruz's proposal down the stairs yesterday. Let me play this for you.
They said, sir, we'd like to hire about 5,000 or 6,000 more judges. 5,000 or 6,000? Now, can you imagine the graft that must take place? You're all small business owners, so I know you can't imagine a thing like that.
If he wants something done, why is he going out of his way to trash the Cruz proposal?
So I understand what the president's doing here, and the president's trying to accomplish what he ran on in 2016, which is come up with a big, broad, comprehensive reform. I mean, he has some very specific principles. I talked about building the wall, ending chain migration, getting rid of the visa lottery, coming up with a real long-term solution to the DACA crisis, closing these loopholes for catch and release. These are some very specific policies we need to come up with and approach the problem overall. I think that's what the president wants to do, and he doesn't want a Band-Aid or just some little patch to try to get by. But I think the fact of the matter is this is starting to reach a critical mass, and Republicans are going to, and hopefully some Democrats are going to be pushing forward on some solutions of what we can do to actually solve this. Because again, the zero tolerance policy at the border is spot on. We should not be allowing people to come into this country illegally.
Joe, quick final thought,
But
Joe.
Jason, he attacks the Democrats, saying we don't care about the criminals, or I mean, it's just crazy talk. And then says at the same time, but hey, the Democrats have to step up and do something about this, while at the same time attacking Ted Cruz's proposal, Republican, that a lot of Democrats might be able to accept. So how, in the end, and then on top of that, you put this policy in place to separate families on purpose, to fight for the, basically his leverage to get to the wall. And that's what the president's doing. Everybody knows it. And the language on top of it that Corey's using and that others in the party are using and supporters on the Hill are using doesn't help. It just continues to push women away from him. Forget about the larger politics of the policy of this thing. It's going to hurt in November because I believe Republican women are repulsed by this.
But Joe,
Hey, guys, let's fight about it. I gotta run, Jason. I really appreciate it, though. Jason, Joe, thanks, guys.